Okay, so hopefully you guys can hear me. Still trying to see if I get the Twitch feed up on this. Anyway, so this is Waterborne, Dane Tolak. I was streaming earlier last night, played about a little over 13 hours and got 54 million. Currently, David Gomez is still going, and he is currently, it looks like he's at about 224 million. No, let me check this real quick. Oh, yeah, 222 million points. Been playing 26 hours, 27 minutes. Too loud, sorry. I tend to talk really loud. I will try to cut that back a little bit. Thanks to the folks at TG Live for putting this on. We really appreciate it. I also want to give a huge thanks and shout out to both Larry DeMar and Eugene Jarvis, the two original VidKids programmers for this game, Robotron. As some of you may or may not know, Larry reprogrammed some of the ROMs to include a couple extra digits on the score, so now the score actually reads all the way to 100 million, where the game actually rolls over. Historically, the score would roll over at 9,999,975 points, and everybody thought that's where the game truly rolled over, but actually the game rolls over at 100 million. They just didn't have the slots to show that. So he updated that, and also he updated the lives counter. So typically, if you look right next to the score, you see 7 extra men. Historically, Robotron would only show those 7 men, but you can have up to 255 extra men on deck. So if you get 256 extra men, the counter would actually roll back over, and that would reset your men to 0, which, from what I understand, is what happened to Ken House when he hit what's called the Goldilocks effect. So basically, hold on one second, I'm trying to adjust my volume here. So basically, when you hit that 100 million, when you roll over the game to 100 million, you get a free man or an extra life for every single thing you hit. Anything that's a scoring opportunity, you get an extra man for that, up until the next 25,000 points. And then at that point, you don't get any extra men till you pay back, in essence, all the extra men that you earned. So if you earned 100 extra men during the Goldilocks period, you would actually have to give back 500,000 points. You'd have to earn those points back before you got your next extra man. So this is what apparently happened to Ken. I was resting after my game, so I did miss that. But apparently Ken ran into the Goldilocks effect when he had his lives rolled over. Sorry, still a little tired from last night. His lives rolled over to 0 after the Goldilocks effect, and I think he was left with like 11 extra lives or something like that. So right now, once again, David Gomez is still playing, and he's doing exceptionally well. He's currently at 122 million points. He has 219 lives on deck. The guy's just a monster. He's using original Wicco sticks, so if anybody's familiar with Robotron, the original game had twin Wicco leaf joysticks, and this is important because the sticks themselves can be really stiff, particularly if they're brand new or if you've gotten replacement grommets for the sticks. In my case, if you were watching my feed last night, you could see my game completely shake. And that was due to the fact that I tend to hang on those controls like like an ape. And my forearms are still screaming this morning. I could barely pick up a cup of coffee when I was done last night. If I ever try this again, I've been talking to some other marathon folks, and I'm going to get some wrist supports and some other things so that I can go ahead and be a little more resilient. Not sure if I'm going to make another run in it. I think I'd like to, just so that I could be in the in the same echelon as David and Ken House. 100 million points on one credit. That's quite a feat indeed. So if you guys have any questions, I'm not sure how long I'm going to be here. Just go ahead and let me know. Type them into the chat box, and I'll answer them. So right now, David's going through what I call a generic mixed grunt wave. So there are basically 4 or 5 basic waves in Robotron. The first is your just grunt wave, which is nothing but grunts. Grunts are the little red guys, and as they get, what they do is they mass up, and the more grunts that are in a group, the faster they move. So what happens is um, you want to take out those grunts or herd them. So here's a grunt wave right here. This is a true grunt wave. And you can see how he has to get to the outside of all the grunts, and as he goes around in a circle, and he's doing it counterclockwise, you will see that the grunts tend to concentrate. The more concentrated they get, the faster they become, and at some point they actually become so fast you can't kill them all if you let them get to that point. How does he go to the toilet? That's a good question. I think it's very close. I think he takes a break. In my case, my bathroom is about 10 feet from my game, so it wasn't that hard to take a little break and go use the restroom. David has the advantage of having quite a few extra men. Last night, I think the maximum number of extra men I was able to get on deck were about 60, so that doesn't give me much room for running away for too long. So I took what I call micro breaks, just quick opportunity to get some food, get something to drink, go to the bathroom, and get right back to playing. One of the other things, a lot of folks who play the game in marathon, they will the waves repeat at 256. So actually, after you get wave 1 through 99, then resets back to 0. That goes through 99, then it resets back to 0, and the third time it goes to 55. And on 256, you actually return to the original first wave, which is the easiest wave. And that's where most people take their break. So here's the tank wave, which most people think or feel is the most difficult of all the waves. I actually had a pretty good run with my tank waves, but you can see there are 2 challenges with the tank waves. Several challenges. First is of killing the tank generators as quickly as possible. The second challenge is once the tanks spawn, avoiding their fire. And the third challenge when you get up to this level in the game is making sure that the Hulks, which are the green square guys with the red feet, don't corral you into a corner, because you can't kill a Hulk. The only thing you can do is push it back a little bit with your fire, and it's kind of like the Terminator. The Hulks or the Terminators or Robotron. So as you're shooting them, they step 1 step back, 2 steps forward, so they'll still keep coming at you. So you can see all the Hulks in this grunt wave. So this is a mixed grunt wave, which has a lot of Hulks. This was my nemesis when I was marathoning last night. It's really hard. You can see how it's almost a puzzle to move yourself around all those Hulks before they corral you. So that's the other part of the game, is kind of spatial awareness and pattern recognition, knowing what you can run over, i.e. the humans, what you can't run over, pretty much everything else on the screen, and being able to weave your way in and around the non-player characters and the humans, because of course you want to pick up as many humans as possible. You get 1,000 points for the first, up to 5,000 points for the fifth, and every successive human is 5,000 points. At this marathon settings, you get a new extra player every 25,000 points. So once you're up to that 5,000 point mark, 5 humans equals an extra player. And that does, and then also you're adding in points you score as you shoot enemies and whatnot. But the easiest, quickest way to get extra men is to pick up those humans, stack them 5 plus, and just start raking in your 5,000 points. On the tank waves, I like to stay in the middle. So you see here, this is another tank wave, and it's actually a mixed tank wave, but David is, you can see he's moving around the outside here. When I get on a tank wave, I tend to stay in the middle. I find the borders, and particularly the corners, you're really susceptible to weird ricochets like that one. So I try to stay in the middle as much as possible. Obviously, that's determined by the Hulks and the fire of the tanks. The other thing is, you can see David is not moving in a linear pattern. He kind of zigs and zags. The tanks, the fireballs in the tanks, from what I understand from Larry, basically fire on a trajectory not where you are, but where the computer or the game thinks you're going. So that's why they use a lot of rebound work on the tanks. They'll fire where they think you're going. So if you're going in a straight line, they're going to get you every time. So they kind of zigzag, evasive motion that David uses a lot, and his play is pretty typical of Robotron players who are trying to avoid not only tanks but the spheroid quark fire. So the little round things that generate the spaceships, those are spheroids. The spaceships themselves are called quarks. If I got my terminology right, sometimes I get mixed up. And you can see it's also frequently good to take out those spheroids before they generate the quarks. And you can see David here cleaning up that grunt wave very nicely. If anybody have any questions, please go ahead and type them in the chat, because right now I got my volume turned off, so I feel like I'm talking to nobody except my dog Jackson over here. But if you have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and put them in the chat box there, and I'll try to answer them as best as I can. So once again, this is Dane Tollock. There you go. Spheroids generate enforcers. Thank you. The quarks, correct me if I'm wrong, I won't go look. I think the quarks are the actual firing from the enforcer. So thank you, Masquerade, for that correction. I'm still a little tired from playing yesterday. Alright, so David is going through another mixed grunt wave here. You got the spheroids, I'm sorry, the enforcers firing at him. He did a good job there. Here's a tank wave. And once again, you can see he's trying to pick up the humans as quickly as possible. And the tanks are now generated, and they're doing the rebound shooting. And he's doing an awesome job of evading that the tank fire. Look at that. Oh, that's pretty impressive. And the quarks generate the Robotron tanks. Once again, Masquerade, thank you very much for the clearing up. Now, you'd think after all the Robotron I've played I would know that, but I frequently forget the enemy names and whatnot, except for the main ones. So, once again, spheroids generate enforcers, which are like the little flying spaceships that shoot the X's, and quarks generate the Robotron tanks, which shoot the round, I call them fireballs, but whatever you want to call them. And once again, David is going through this tank wave, and he's just doing a great job. Let's look again. Currently, he's been playing for 26 hours, 39 minutes, and some seconds here. He is at 123 million points and has 221 lives. He's already rolled the score at 100 million points. Oh, thank you, Masquerade, for the congratulations on the 50 million score. That was my original goal for last night, is to get 50 million. I would have loved to have made it to 100 million, but just didn't have it in me. My final score was 54 million and some change. But it was certainly a pleasure to be part of this event. And once again, I want to thank the folks at Twin Galaxies and the folks, Larry DeMar and Eugene Jarvis from VidKids, the original programmers for Robotron. They also did, I believe, Defender Stargate. I know that Larry was definitely involved in Narcs, and I know that Eugene has been doing a lot of the current games, including things like Cruis'n Exotica and the Cruis'n series. So Larry is still very active in the programming field some 33 years later. Oh man. So some folks were asking me earlier about my forearms and my arms and how they felt. One of the things that I did when I was playing my marathon last night was I actually sat down and played for the excuse me, for the first time. As you'll notice, David is standing, which I can't. He's been standing for 26 plus hours. That's amazing in and of itself. I decided to take a sitting approach because I knew how long I'd be playing, or at least I had high hopes of being playing for quite a long time. And I've never really played sitting down. I always play Robotron standing up. To me, it's a very physical game. And so sitting down just never really worked for me. But I gave it a shot last night, and after some adjustments to chair height and whatnot, was able to get a decent score at 54 million sitting down. I probably would do that again if I did another marathon, simply because if I was standing up, my legs would probably be as much toast as my wrist and my shoulders are this morning. For today, it's actually this afternoon. I'm on the East Coast and it's 2:45. So, any other questions out there in the chat feed? Right now, looks like we have one credit Masquerade Net. I know that Cliff was with us a little bit. Cliff Clavin is also another Williams enthusiast. Cliff, you still there, buddy? If so, just type a little hi so I know that people can still hear me. I'm not chatting with myself here. So let's see, what else about Robotron can I tell you guys? So there are a lot of other scoring tracks that are going on with Robotron currently, as the game enjoys this resurgence. Not only with the new tie-dye ROM set that Larry created for us marathoners, there are several other tracks. Historically, Twin Galaxies Tournament Score was the other track that was followed by the Twin Galaxies Scoreboard. That is 5-man start, difficulty 5, no extra men, and that's a pretty tough game. It's more about being very precise in your movements. Last time I checked, I believe John McAllister still had the world record for that. If he does not, well, I guess I could go and check, couldn't I? One moment here. Let's see real quick. I'm going to look it up real quick. So at the last check, John McAllister had the world record for the Twin Galaxies tournament score, and I'm looking that up right now for everybody, so just bear with me here. Some of the other scoring tracks include BKE, which stands for Big Kids Extreme, so that's a difficulty 10 setting, which is the highest possible setting. Yep, John McAllister still has the Twin Galaxies tournament score record at the official record at 1,236,950 points. And then once again, difficulty 10 score is another option that people play. So just basically difficulty 10, difficulty 10, 3-man start, extra man every 25,000 points. And then as I was mentioning, the Big Kids Extreme, or as we call it, BKE scoring track, which we hope to get added to Twin Galaxies once they start including new tracks, is difficulty 10, 3-man start, and a new extra life every 50,000 points. And let me tell you, that's a pretty tough track to do. I think my high score on that is about 660,000 points, and I believe the current high score, and once again, this is not currently officially tracked by Twin Galaxies, but the current high BKE score is right around 1,200,000 or so. You can find all this information also on a website called Robotron Guidebook, run by Mark Hoff. Mark was online, I believe, yesterday doing some commentary as well. Mark has been instrumental in getting Robotron active on Twin Galaxies, and really helping support the Robotron marathon community. Mark was an original employee of Twin Galaxies back in Ottumwa, Iowa, with Walter Day. He worked under Walter Day, so that's his connection, legacy connection to Twin Galaxies. Wow, just watch David make that amazing move to the right there. That was pretty impressive indeed. Do we do any one-man challenges? I actually did participate in the Williams Arcade Challenge at Barcade in Brooklyn. Dave Goubinet, who was on earlier, I don't know if he's still with us or not, he was also there, as were several other top arcade players. And that tournament included, I believe, 7 or 8 different Williams games. Defender, Joust, Robotron, Sinistar, Moon Patrol, and I believe maybe Make Tracks. and every one of those, so all the scores were done on a single man score. So basically, you did your first man. In Robotron, you can't set it to just one man, so you basically start 3-man start, and then when your first man dies, that's it. I think my high score for Robotron in that tournament was just under 300,000, and I do believe that I forget, Steve Wagner I think took away the top score on that with just over 300,000 on a single man. Masquerade, you were at the Williams event? Excellent. Sorry I didn't recognize the pin name there. That was a good event. I definitely enjoyed it quite a bit. I know Dave Gouvenet was there, you were there, George Lutz was there, keeping score for everybody for arcade. It was a great event, had a great time. Barcade is a great establishment. That's one of the things that I'm loving to see pop up more and more is the new barcades and the new adult arcades that we're seeing with classic games. I recently was in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and went to one there called the Baxter. They just opened. They have a Robotron. It needs a little repair work, but I was able to set the high score on that. It was barely over a million though. The sticks were a little wonky, but it's good to see that the barcade scene is picking up, because that means these games are going to continue to grow in popularity, and there'll be the resurgence of players like myself who grew up on these games. Robotron was always, just a little background on me, Robotron was always one of my favorite games, but as a kid back in the 80s, I don't think I ever got past the first tank wave. If I did, it was a great day for me. And then it's been about 8 years since I started collecting arcade games for my personal collection. And Robotron was the second game I purchased. The first one was a PC-10, Nintendo Play Choice 10. Got Robotron and just started playing it all the time. I remember the first time I ever got a million points. It was a big deal to me. In fact, if you look at the Twin Galaxies Marathon scoreboard, I'm actually listed, I think, as 17th with just over a million points. And I was really proud when I submitted that million point score back in the day. And the other uh, benchmark, of course, was 10 million when you rolled the original ROM set at 999,975. So my first 10 million point game, that was pretty cool. Now I got my 50 million point game under my belt, and I'd love to see myself break that 100 million point mark. But we'll see. We'll see if that ever happens. In the meantime, we're watching Dave Gomez just tear up Robotron. He continues to play after 26 hours, 49 minutes. He's at 124 million, sorry, David, 124 million points. And it looks like he has, let's increase the screen here real quick, and he's sitting on 227 extra lives. I haven't seen David since I came back this morning. I have not seen him take a major break. I've seen him walk away for a few short periods of time, but he has not taken any major breaks. He's got plenty of min that where he could take, with 225 minutes if he wanted to, he could probably take a good 15-20 minute break. But he just keeps going. I know that when I was playing last night, because I can't build up as many minutes as David can, his precision's amazing. I would take a break when I got to about 60 extra min, and then I would get off my break when I got down to about 40 extra min. I didn't want my player count to get below 40. And so that gave me usually about 5 minutes. So 20 min, give or take 5 minutes. A lot depends on where you take your breaks. Typically, brainwaves with just one brain and no tanks on the brainwave is the best place to take a break, because you get the most time between spawning and a random kill from the brainwave. A lot of other people will take a break on True Wave 1, which is the first grunt wave. Kill everything except one grunt, take care of all the electrodes so the grunts don't kill themselves, and that'll give you, I think it's about 7 seconds between spawns for each extra guy. So you can do the math. If you have 250 people, or say you have 100 people, you got 7 seconds, gives you about 70 seconds, probably about 10 seconds per for the respawn and all that stuff. So here's Dave in another brainwave. It's funny when I watch this and I'm not playing it. It's amazing to me how busy the screen gets. When I myself am playing Robotron and marathoning it, I get into this little zen mode, um, and I don't really think about what I'm doing. It's more just gut reaction. And when you look at these screens and how much is going on the screen from a intellectual standpoint, it's amazing that we can even get through any of these screens. And David is just, look at that, look at that. Those grunts were trailing him and grouping up, and he just took them right out. This guy is amazing. Okay, here's another tank wave. You can see he's staying in the middle pretty much this time. Oh, got hit there by the cork and the tank generator. And you can see how you have to watch the Hulks. So the Hulks, once again, are the big square green enemies. You can't kill them. You can only move them back, and they have a tendency to catch you in a corner there. So you have to be very careful when moving around these screens that you don't let the Hulks get you in a corner. During the higher end grunt waves last night, I was having a huge problem uh, letting myself get caught in a corner by tanks. Just usually grunt waves are not my worst wave, but last night that was my nemesis. Here's a grunt wave right here. You can see he's clearing out a path to the outside. And as David goes around the outside, he has to dodge those Hulks. You see he's staying well away from the green guys. And go around in circles clearing out the spheroids so that they don't produce any more enforcers, dodging enforcer fire, and grouping the grunts so that they're easier to kill. And once again, if the grunts get tightly grouped in a big mass, as they get grouped, they go faster and faster and faster, and it becomes harder and harder to outrun them till they can get to a point where you simply cannot outrun them. Now, on this brainwave, you'll notice a couple things. As the brains move about the screen, they will run over the humans and they transfer them into what are called progs. This term I do know, I remember. And the progs are basically the humans once the brains run over them, and they move at right angles. And once the human has been turned into a prog, you cannot pick it up for extra points, and they can kill you if they hit you. So that's the other key on the brainwaves, is to try to pick up the humans as quickly as possible. The other thing about the brainwaves is every brainwave there is one human that all the brains will key on first. In the very first brainwave, that's Mikey, the little guy with the red shirt. On successive brainwaves, it can be any of the humans, and that's a range. But they will all go towards one human, and then once that human has been turned into a prog, then they'll start attacking the other humans. And if you pick up that human, then the brains will start turning on the other humans. So what people call, or what players call, a perfect brainwave is where you protect the humans from the brains so that they don't get that one human. So in the first brainwave, you'd be protecting Mikey, but not picking him up. And if you do that and you do it well, at the end of the wave, you leave one brain alive, and you can pick up a ton of humans for a ton of extra points and extra men. The key in the successive brainwaves is to figure out visually what that human is. Okay, so here's a brainwave. If you look real quickly, all the brains are going to the top right, so they got their human somewhere in that top right corner. And then once they turn that human into a prog, they went ahead and started towards other humans and started to fire towards David's player character. Until they turn that first human into a prog, you won't see brainwaves. They won't start attacking the player or the other humans. So. Alright guys, give me a little feedback here, make sure I'm still with you and you're still with me. This is once again Dane Tollock, aka Waterborne, a fellow Robotron Marathon player. Played last night, got a score up to 54 million. We are currently watching David Gomez just rip Robotron up. He has been playing for 26 hours 55 minutes, so he's getting ready to roll over into his 27th hour of play. He has 124 million points, sorry. About to kick over to 125 million points, which I believe is pretty much his high score, so we're getting into new territory for David Gomez very soon here. And it looks like he has 224 extra men. Once again, if you guys can still hear me commentating, please let me know. Masquerade, if you're still around, or if anybody's still around, just type into the chat window there, because I have no feedback if I don't see people responding to what I'm saying. All right, so David is clearing out. It looks like he's on wave 49. I haven't been keeping track whether this is first wave 49, second wave 49, or third wave 49. If it's the third 49, then he's going to be going. Oh, wait a minute. It looks like 99. I'm sorry. Let's see here real quick. Oh, no, it is 49. If he gets to wave, or when he gets to wave 56 or 55, actually, it'll be a brain wave. And if that is actually wave 255, then it will roll back over to wave 1. Thank you, Cliff, for the for letting me know I'm still here. And you too, Thella. It's a little weird talking to your screen and wondering if anybody's out there listening to you. And Cliff, if you want to get on and commentate, just let me know and I'll hang up on Skype and we'll let you come on and do a little commentating as well. Once again, Cliff is also a Williams arcade player. Cliff, where are you from? I should know this by now, being a member of Williams Player Unite, but I do not. I myself am residing in North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and I know David's in Texas. So this game that you see on your screen being played by David Gomez is coming from Texas. I should know exactly where, but I do not. Oh, the brain Robotron bug. Yes, I was talking about that. So once again on the brain waves, I don't really, I guess it's a bug. I don't consider it a bug, but basically the programming on the brain waves, the brains will always focus on a single human and try and go to that single human to turn that human into a prog before they will fire at the player or go towards any other humans to convert them to progs. Now, if a human dies, so say a Hulk runs over a human and that human is the quote-unquote key human in the brainwave, then all of a sudden the brains will start converting other humans to progs and will start attacking. Oh, Cliff's in Calgary, by the way. We'll start attacking the other humans as well. On the first brainwave, so I think it's wave 6, true wave 6, the key human on that brainwave is Mikey, the little guy with the red shirt. After that, it can be any human. And there's no real way to know for sure which human it is. Basically, you have to look, as a player, you look at the patterns. Where are all the brains hurting to? And in the next brainwave, we'll go over that again. So here's a brainwave. As you look, okay, the brains are hurting to the, it looks like right side. You see how they're all stacked up on the right, and they just picked up a human. Their first human was in that bottom right corner. So you can see how they swarm towards the first human, and then they'll swarm towards various other humans. All right, so I'm looking here, and apparently David's in Houston, and we got another Stella is in Texas. And we have Cliff Clavin on board, and he's in Calgary. And Pink has just joined us as well, so thank you everybody for coming on board and watching this historic game. And there's True Wave 1. So Dave has rolled over this the wave counter to, so that was wave, this is in essence wave 256, aka wave 1. And so now it looks like he's going to take a little break at least. And we'll see what's happening. My Twitch feed is buffering for some reason. Any comments on, so Cliff asked, any comments on having the live shown? Does it make the players focus too much on it or simply allow players to avoid rolling over the man? Well, I think there's two views to that, Cliff. For me, it actually helped me. I think that if I not had the player count, and once again, I can only, last night I was only able to get about 60 men in reserve. Had I just been able to see that I had more than 7 men on the top without the new player counter, I personally believe my game would have ended much earlier. Because what I did was I refused to take a break unless I had at least 60 men, and I stopped my breaks at 40 men. So I always had 40 men in the hole until my play really started to degrade. For some of the other players, David was telling me when we first got the new ROMs and the player counter that he paid too much attention to it. So that's it can be distracting. For players of David and Ken's caliber, I think it's just a great resource because you at 256 men, as many of you know, the extra men roll over to 0, and that's what from what I understand, that's what got Ken House last night or this morning on his marathon attempt, was that he hit the Goldilocks zone. So for those of you who don't know, at 99 million points, 99,999,975, the game rolls over to 10 million points. And when that happens for the first 25,000 points, everything that gets a point value, so every enemy you shoot, every brainwave you shoot, whatever every human you pick up, you get a free man for every point opportunity during the Goldilocks effect. Now the key to that is if you're too close to 256 men, it can roll your men over to 0, and that's apparently what happened to Ken House. The other thing about the Goldilocks effect is that once you get your extra men, you get that first 25,000 points, you get no extra men until you quote unquote pay back all those extra men that you got during the Goldilocks period. So it's like a loan. So once again, if you received 100 extra men during the Goldilocks period, you would not be given another extra man until so 25,000 times 100. That's 2.5 million, if I'm right. Yeah, I hope that's right. So you wouldn't get another extra player until you scored 2.5 million points. So that's where a lot of folks, not a lot of folks, because only David and Ken are the only two people that have hit the Goldilocks zone, and they have been confirmed to have hit it on one credit. So they're the only ones that know how it feels to do that. Masquerade saying he can't take it anymore. He's going to Brooklyn Barcade. Well, Masquerade, if you go to Brooklyn Barcade, please tell them to fix those Waco sticks if they aren't already fixed. Last time I was there, they were pretty, I call them, what did it say they were? They were wonky. Soupy. They weren't very tight on the controls. All right, so yes, so I'm sorry I can't read your name because it's in bright pink paint. Pac-Mania, I think the score currently is at 125 million. Thella, I got a question. What does it feel like having to stay up for a whole day playing this game? Yes, and also you are correct. Defender and I believe Stargate also had the Goldilocks effect. Defender and Stargate roll over at a different point, I think. So anyway, how does it feel to play this game for a whole day? Well, actually, it killed my arms, killed my shoulders. I played for 13 hours, so I haven't even been playing. I played half as long as David's been playing at this point. By the way, David has restarted, and he's on this first brainwave. True first brainwave, which is wave 6, I believe. Yep. What was that, wave 5? Hold on, sorry. I'm having trouble seeing my screen. So that was wave 5, the first true brainwave. Anyway, back to the question about fatigue. My forearms, my shoulders were screaming using the original Wico sticks and grommets. But as far as, I was sitting down, David's been standing up, so there's a difference there as well. As far as just general fatigue, I was in really good shape. In fact, I stayed up to like 4:30 because I didn't want to go to sleep after finishing my game about 1:30 a.m. Eastern time. So I think the major thing playing this game, and I'm a beast. You can see David; he's very light on the touch with this game, even using the original Wico sticks. If you were watching my feed, my cab was just shaking because I hang on those things, I hang on those Wicco sticks like a freaking ape, and it's yeah, I have a totally different style of play than David, and that's probably why he's doing so much better than me, because he's conserving a lot of energy uh, with those fine hand movements as opposed to me moving all over the place like I'm wrestling a gorilla or something. Um, so once again, this is David Gomez. You're watching play Robotron 2084 for the 100 million point gauntlet. This is the second gauntlet event we've done. He did take off his headphones. I don't know if you can hear me, David. Hopefully you can hear me. I don't know if you're listening to the feed as well. Um, that's one thing. I usually play with music. I did not play with music. I had a little bit of music really low in the background last night, but because of Twitch regulations and um, copyright issues and all that fun stuff, the only thing I could play was music by my friend's band, and I didn't want it too loud just in case there was any issues. The Wiccos will last longer than mine. I've already replaced mine once, so I'm on my second pair of Wiccos, and the worst thing about replacing Wicco joysticks is those new repro, if you get it NOS, which is new old stock, the original grommets that hold the joysticks, that center the joysticks, are very stiff. If you get refurbed grommets, so you get or the new repro grommets, they're even worse. So when I got my new old stock Wiccos and installed them, it was brutal playing the game for about, I would say, at least 2 months until they got worked out a little bit and softened up a bit. Um, yeah, David's Wiccos are going to last a lot longer than mine. I was noticing last night that it felt like the E-clip to my firing joystick was starting to give way. That happened to me once before while marathoning. Basically, the joystick is kept in place with this little circular clip, and the way I play, I'm brutal on my sticks, and basically that broke, and I felt like it was going last night, so I got to take a look at that at some point before I play again and see if I need to replace that. Luckily, I have numerous extra E-clips, so that's not too big of a deal. Great brainwave there by David, by the way. This guy is fluid. And once again, if you watch how he plays, he does not go typically in straight lines. He does a lot of zigzagging. That is to confuse the programming on the enemies, because basically the enemies are programmed in many cases to cut you off. They're not necessarily, particularly tanks, and particularly the enforcers. They're firing where they think you're gonna go, not necessarily where you are. So if you're running in a straight line, they're gonna cut you off at the pass pretty quickly. So you see a lot of almost all top Robotron players, they will use this kind of zigzag, irregular pattern of moving around the screen um, to help mitigate that prediction factor on the programming of the enemy. My wife just came into the room where I'm doing my commentary. My dog is a little disgruntled because I haven't paid attention to him for the last 24 hours for the most part. So she is consoling him, and he is grumbling about it. But anyway, back to the Robotron gameplay. David Gomez. Oh, actually, first of all, this is Dane Talk, aka Waterborne, one of the participants earlier in the Robotron Gauntlet, and we are watching David Gomez rip up the screen. He's just monstering this game. He owns this game in every way imaginable. He has 125 million points. If this is not his personal high score, he's almost there. And he has been playing for 27 plus hours at this point. Pretty impressive indeed. Once again, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to post them in the chat.